welcome to Ask Win, everyone. And today I got the teacher of book reviews on, believe it or not, told me for his, I guess, full-time job is a book reviewer. So he's going to tell us the secrets of a good book review because, as you guys all know, I am published on Amazon, and I still, to this day, 7 years into it, have trouble finding the reviewers. So that's why I got Tony on, and I'm going to let Mr. Tony take it away.
All right, Win, thank you so much for having me on your show. I want to say, everybody, my name is Tony Moze. I am a rhyming book reviewer. I do book summaries, basically in hip-hop music video form. So if you see my videos, there's acting, there's some fun in there. There's some laughs and jokes to get you going. And the way I do it basically is different from any other ordinary book reviewer. No disrespect to any book reviewers out there. I'm just saying I carved my own niche, fusing together what I've been doing since I was a child, which is basically music and acting and reading books. So every author, especially today, if they're a self-published author, brand new to the game, brand new to the industry, brand new to putting out books, I think the best way they can be promoted is not by the traditional ways of promoting, because many books are being published and more authors are coming out these days. Especially with the self-publishing business, it makes it very easy for authors to get their books out. But now the next issue that people are going to encounter, or actually are encountering now from what I've been hearing in the community and what I've been experiencing, is that there are so many authors out there that it's kind of hard to find your book. And so in order to find your book, you're going to need someone who's going to be able to put it out and advertise and promote it in a way that's different from anyone else. So my job is to make you as an author stand out, by doing these kind of musical, theatrical book reviews.
Okay, so you combine all three of your passion, music, dance, and love of books, which I think is awesome, into a paying gig, basically. And do you get paid to review books, or how does that work? Do people just give you books and say review this, or how does that work?
So it's a mixture, right? So I work primarily with self-published authors. The self-published authors are my clients. So, brand new authors who are out, But on the flip side, I do just out of, because I really enjoy these books, I do the more bigger versions of these books, the ones that have been selling millions and millions of copies. I do it because I enjoy it. So the only compensation I get from that is the fact that I actually collaborate with these authors, and these authors, the value that they give me is tremendous, because these are big names like Michael Moss. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning author, wrote the book Salt, Sugar, Fat. Jonah Berger, he's a Wharton School professor, and he wrote the New York Times bestseller, and I believe it's now a Wall Street bestseller. He wrote the book called Contagious, Why Things Catch On. There's a man named Patrick Bet-David. He's the CEO of PHP, host of YouTube's Valuetainment, has almost 1 million subscribers. And I do a lot of these books, and it's great because I've made some great connections with these authors. So, my name is pretty much getting out there. Seth Godin, too, I also was able to connect with Seth and provide him, a piece from one of his books, and he enjoyed it. So, primarily, though, it's the self-published authors, brand new authors who, have been putting books out, but they're just having a tough time trying to market, or sell or promote their books. And so so I provide that added feature where their books, stand out amongst other books.
Okay, so I have a question for you.
Yes.
What has been, I'm actually going to ask this two ways to you, Tony, because I normally ask it one way to people, but since you're a book reviewer, you have more insights on books than the average person. So what has been your favorite book? It doesn't have to be business related. It just has to be a book that you go back to time and time again.
So, wait, I know we should have talked about this beforehand, but I wanted to know exactly who would you believe the demographics are listening to this show?
Well, I'm telling you right now, the disabled population and solo entrepreneurs.
Sure. Okay. So entrepreneurs and the disabled population.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So let's see here. Favorite book of mine. I mean, I read a lot of books. I mean, I'm on the Goodreads app. I know I should be updating that as well because I've read so many books recently and audiobooks. So it depends. When someone asks me a question that says, what is a favorite book of yours, or what is a book that can help that I should be reading, the first question I always have to ask is, what is it that you're interested in at this moment? What is it that, what is maybe perhaps bothering you, or an issue that needs to be solved? What is the underlying thing that's occurring at this moment in time that you would need help with, and then I could choose the book. But I mean, for me, the question I'd ask for me is there's a few different genres, and the one book on money, when it comes to money, because money has been an issue with me for quite some time until recently, was Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game. It's a very thick book, but it's very technical, I would say, because a lot of jargon and words that you have to understand from the industry. But it helped me to understand how I can invest and where to put my money and make more money. So that was a really good book. I would say another book that I enjoy a lot in terms of time management, because that's what I've learned so far from the book. Or that's what I've gathered. I know I got to read it over and over again. But it's Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week. The 4-Hour Work Week is basically just taught me so much about how to, especially, if you're a CEO, and you're a CEO of your brand and your company, you have to know how to delegate your time, how to manage your time wisely. Otherwise, you could end up becoming really super stressed and burnt out. And Tim Ferriss, after listening to his podcast and his book, I've really grown to love Tim Ferriss a lot. Now, in terms of spirituality, I would say my favorite book of all time is Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth, because it talks about how the egos pretty much bring so much suffering to your life. And, quite for some time I conditioned myself, as well as learning from society, that, everything should be ego-driven, but ego definitely can be your worst enemy. And last but not least, I would say another book of mine, I mean, I could keep going forever, but I want to just keep it brief. A book of mine that stood out was Michael Moss's book. And the title of the book is Salt, Sugar, Fat: How the Food Giants Hooked Us. And it's an expose on the food industry and the junk food industry, and how they've pretty much, they've engineered it, where it's become a drug, these three ingredients that they put in foods, and it's become so much of a drug that you become addicted to it. So those are my few books right there that I really enjoy, and they pretty much serve the needs and the issues and problems that were occurring in my life.
And now I'm going to ask you the same question, but this way. What has been your favorite book that you have reviewed personally?
Okay. So there's a few manners. Of course, I have different packages for authors, depending on their needs, depending on what angle they want to take. But, I can do the very basic, just one-shot video where it's just, it's just one shot, no different scenes, no variation. It's just pretty simple, and it's me in front of a camera, rhyming about the book. Then there's a little bit more sophisticated stuff where there's different scenes, and it's almost and I would say it's actually cinematic. And then there's also animated scenes as well. So I go from very basic to cinematic to animated. But I would say my personal favorite, just because I enjoyed the whole process, was Patrick Bet-David's book. Or actually, I'm sorry, that book was good, but it was Who Moved My Cheese? It was the book Who Moved My Cheese. And I played as a mouse, of course, because the premise of the book is talking about 2 or 3 mice in there who had to deal with change. And the issue with us humans is that a lot of us are so used to comfort, and we're trying to avoid change as possible. But the book teaches you how to embrace change. And me making that video from start to finish was something that I really enjoyed. Had a lot of laughs with the people that were in there. You know, I had an actress in the video. I also have my guy who does video editing for me, and then, of course, my consultant. And we're all looking at it, and we're laughing about it, and it was a really good book. So Who Moved My Cheese was definitely probably one of my favorite to date that I filmed.
And you said you worked with independently self-published authors. Well, if you're saying Who Moved My Cheese was one of your favorite books, was that book independently self-published then bought by a big publisher? Because I've actually heard of that book, Who Moved My Cheese, and I wasn't sure whether it was independently self-published and then bought by a big publisher, or did you get a copy of it from the publisher?
Okay, so I guess we will go back on the question, because what I heard was what was my favorite book that I filmed then in general. But now if you're asking me what was the favorite book that I filmed of one of my clients, then that's a story. Okay. Yeah. So my favorite book of all that I've filmed, that I put together with my team, was Who Moved My Cheese. However, the one that I did for my client was so many of this recently. I did like about 20 books recently, but he is it's basically called it's basically for the black and brown souls. It's Healing for the Black and Brown Souls. It's a book for minorities, anyone from who are African American to the African diaspora, down to Latino and Asian diaspora. And it's basically talking about how to move across the obstacles, and it's a personal development book for minorities. And I enjoyed doing that book. That one was a great book because I had different scenes and I was into it. And of course, me being half Dominican and half Sudanese, I really bonded with this book a lot. And so that book was one of my favorites.
So my next question is, what is the biggest struggle for book reviewers, and how can the community of authors help a book reviewer out?
Okay. Let's see here. And okay, guys, I'm sorry, just so if anyone wants to know, it's called More Than Just Surviving by Theodore Helvivier. More Than Just Surviving by Theodore Helvivier, Healing and Growth for the Black and Brown Souls. So can you repeat that question again, though, just because I had a little trouble understanding that?
What is the biggest challenge for a professional book reviewer, and how can the community of authors help these book reviewers out there, or how could the community in general help you as an independent book reviewer?
Okay. So what I've seen, too, is a lot of people who do book reviews are doing it just because it's based out of passion. And passion is great because I really believe in passion. That's my one word. But, my one word to get an understanding of who I am is passion. Because without passion, you wouldn't do the things that you so loved and desired. So it's great that book reviewers, they do things out of the kindness of their heart, out of the love for it, out of the passion. But majority of book reviews are not doing it. They're not taking it on a different level, on a higher level, and that is seeing it on a business level. And so more, and like I tell everyone who's creative, that can be beyond just book reviewers. This is just for anyone who's creative, whether they're dancers, they're singers, they're musicians, is that they have to start seeing themselves as a business. Because just seeing yourself as a creative, it's wonderful, it's fun, it's great. You come up with ideas, but then it doesn't move far. When you see yourself as creative, you just do things out of no rhyme or reason. When you start seeing yourself as a business, you start putting more emphasis, or at least more, you start getting a little more focused and strategic with how you put together content and distribute it, and who you partner with, and your networks, and how to maximize pretty much the opportunity in every angle. And if more book reviewers, if you want to look at just them, they need to see themselves a little more serious than just doing it for fun, because a lot of them are doing it for fun. Though there are some book companies out there that do book reviews, and I really love the fact that they do it. Like Blinkist is number one out there, but they see themselves as a business, and they are a business with a business model. And they have people employed to help out in all different angles, from marketing to sales to the growth hacking on social media. So they have everything in there. But for someone who's not a business and wants to take it to the next step, to answer what you're saying, with how do we get them to promote, and how do we get also people to promote them, is they need to start networking. They have to network. They have to get their content out there. They have to attend author events, writers events, book conventions. There's a book convention coming up in New York. It's called BookCon. They also have an Instagram page as well. But just pretty much showing up everywhere, giving people your card. Those are the ones who are winning it. They're winning in this because they are putting themselves out there. They're saying, "Here, I exist, and please check me out," and whatnot. And so it takes on that end for them to really, go the extra mile by putting in the work. And on the authors end, the authors too need to, because this is my situation, or at least my experiences, is that in the beginning I was giving authors just the content. I was just doing it just to learn and understand and everything like that. And I would give, client or people then just to do testing. I'd give them the content, which is the video. And they would maybe share it to their friends or their family. And they're not, and that's a sad thing, because it's like they could be doing so much more as authors, but instead they're just seeing themselves as creatives. Now, some authors, there's authors that I work with, this one guy, he's a real estate agent. I don't know if I can say his name, but he put out a book, and this book has been selling like crazy because he is traveling everywhere. He's doing book signing. He's traveling to different countries. And I never knew who he was until he came to me. And so he's putting himself out there. He's networking with people. He's eventually positioning himself so that he's at the perfect opportunity where now it seems like luck, but at first it was hustle and smart, and being smart about it and strategic. And so it takes two. It takes two to tango. It takes two to tango, and the book reviewer needs to see themselves more seriously, and the author needs to take themselves more seriously, because authors are just simply taking the content and then maybe distributing it because they don't understand the power of social media. And the power of social media is very important in these days. You have to know how to use social media to your advantage and see it that it's very important. Like you have Instagram, you have Facebook, you have Snapchat, you have Anchor, you have all these social media platforms. You even have live stream platforms that are at your disposal, and they're pretty much free unless you decide you want to do a paid advertisement. But until then, if you don't use that, if you don't navigate that, and you don't use it often, you're going to be at a loss. And a lot of authors are losing at this, and this managed to be washed up in the sea of other authors because they're not taking that they're not putting any importance, and they're not putting in the time that's needed to finally get the momentum and to get your name out there.
And can I just say something on behalf of all book reviewers. This is not just for you, Tony. This is for everyone. Edit, 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 edit. I don't care how many times you have to edit. I don't care if you have to eat rice and beans for the editor. Edit, edit, edit your books, because in the long run, all the work that all these book reviewers are putting in, i.e. Tony and all the rest of them, they're not going to give your book love if they don't like the edits in your book, or if your book isn't edited at all.
Yeah. That's an issue for, you know, the good and the bad of being a self-published author is, the good is that you can, you know, you don't have to worry about being being part of a publishing company that's going to perhaps take forever, and you know, you can do it and promote it and, you know, have it out as soon as you want. But then the bad part of it is that if you didn't get the right editor, because that's a very important thing too. You know, I'm working on a few books right now, and I'm speaking to an editor who does copy editing and developmental editing. And the thing she, you know, definitely stressed was that a lot of authors are coming out and they're trying to edit on their own. They're trying to get a friend of theirs, you know, who went to school for English, you know, went to maybe college for 4 years, maybe 5 for English, and they're getting them to do the editing. But it is very true. Just like in other cases, you need a professional to do your book, because you need someone who has experience with doing way beyond just copy edited. Copy editing is, you know, if anyone's listening, for those people who are kind of new to this whole idea and they're considering writing a book, copy editing is basically doing, you know, the standard, you know, what high school teachers did, you know, with fixing grammatical errors and punctuation and, you know, stuff like that. It's like kind of more like the minor stuff, but developmental editing is where the real magic happens, and it's where they start looking at your book as a whole, your chapters as a whole, a paragraph as a whole, and you get really metacognitive. They get very cerebral, you know, as to how to direct your paragraphs, your chapters, your book, to where it makes sense and it really resonates with you and it's conveyed properly to people. So having a professional editor is very important, because they, you know, like this one that I'm working with, she's worked for many publishing companies, so she knows a lot about that. And then she's done developmental editing, you know, a lot of that, unlike some people who say they have an English degree. So, I mean, it's very, very important, like you said, when have an editor, but more importantly, have a professional one who's been in the industry, one who's been, you know, who's worked with developmental editing, more importantly, just because I'm just trying to think about also people who don't have the money or have enough funds to get someone who's super, super professional. But just do your research. Try to find someone out there who has the credibility and the know-all of developmental editing, because that's going to take your book very, very far.
Yeah. And now when I made the fatal mistake of, and I call it a fatal mistake, although my book hit #1, so I don't know if it's a fatal mistake or I was just lucky. But back in the day, this was 7 years ago, October 20th, 2012, and now it's 2018. Back in the day, I went to a writing group locally to me, which is Aspen, Colorado, and I hired an editor out of that writing group. She claims to be a professional editor, and still to this day, I haven't looked at her curriculum vitae. I haven't looked at her resume. I should probably email her and get that now, and just to see if she is a professional editor. And I know she works with other clients, and I know she charges them higher than she charged me. She gave me the discount of all discounts, and which I need people to quit doing and quit feeling sorry for me because I have a disability. But I noticed that she was using me and I tell you this, the honesty, she was using me as her therapist. And I said to her literally back in the day that I said to her literally, a therapist, I am not. I hired you to edit my book, and that is the final straw. And so after the book was done, I fired her from being my book editor, and I still haven't got her curriculum vitae. Most editors send you a portfolio of work they done, or you can go to the Freelance Writers Association of America to find a good editor. And that's how I found my editor for this book that's coming out. Right now, I also have a publishing deal, and my editor, who also works for the publishing company, also does private editing, so that's what I'm using now. But that's my experience with editors, and don't get your editors to use you as your therapist. I don't know why my editor did it, but find a good editor who you can talk to, and they can tell you what's wrong with your book and how to fix your book. I mean, and editorial letters, and now this is just me, editorial letters drive me nuts when the editor takes your book, then writes a love note on top of it and says, this is my suggestions that you should change, and then hands it back to you. I'm also dealing with that right now, too. My last editor gave me an editorial letter, and a friend of mine who's actually a ghostwriter said, this is quite common. I, along with you, had another client do
Tony Moze.
hire me to do editorial letter. So, Tony, what is the best way for people to not only find book reviewers, but editors, or what is the best way to go about this? Because there's so many ways you can skin this cat, it's not even funny.
Yes, there is. I apologize. I don't know if this is going to be edited, but there was a part where someone just called and then it disrupted the phone call, so I had to call you back on the conference line. But so I missed out on some of it. I missed out on a certain portion of what you're saying, but I managed to get to this question that you asked here. So I don't know if there was anything else you were saying before that.
I was asking you what's the best way to skin this book world editing book reviewer cat. I know there's good reads. I know there's Amazon verified reviews, but of course Amazon has now cracked down, which Amazon is moving and shaking in a way that I don't like. So that's why my last book will be self-published by myself on September 11th. Then I'm turning all my work over to a publisher.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go at it, a lot of ways to skin the cat. Basically, the one thing I've been learning too, it's really interesting because I do rhyming book reviews, of course. You know, I do these musical, theatrical book summaries, but I've also been working in the authorship myself, meaning like I've been writing books as well and learning more about what it is to be an author. So what I learned, because I'm in a cohort in Boston called the Startup Leadership Program. It's basically a program built for aspiring and to even seasonal entrepreneurs trying to scale their business, their startup, and learn the ways of a startup, learn how to pretty much do everything within a startup, whether that's, pitching to all the legalities and term sheets and everything like that. And it's
hosted by an angel investor. You know, he comes in and he teaches us, as well as has other angel investors come in and, you know, and then also other entrepreneurs in the community who have a startup who are, you know, still trying to raise more capital and series funding. And you get to be in the seat of both, you know, for a few days you're the angel investor, then another few days you're the entrepreneur, then another day you're the, you know, then you're discussing term sheets, then you're discussing branding, everything in and out of the startup. You're learning this, and this is a whole year course, you know, program. And so what I learned, thanks to the angel investor that teaches the program, he told me, he said, look, he goes, because right now what I'm doing, you know, as Tony Moze, it's much more of a smaller scale, and I'll be very transparent. This is 2018. If we could document this, that I'm on a smaller scale. So of course, you know, I work with, you know, let's see here. How many how many do I work with on average? Normally I find myself doing tops about 20 books a month, and you know, that's with the help of my team as well. But now when I start to scale it, it's going to be a different animal where there's going to be more employees, you know, there's going to be a bigger cast, the things, content, and everything else are revolving in and out of it is going to be, it's going to be able to be distributed, you know, pushed out a lot faster, a lot in larger quantities. So what I was taught by my angel investor was that you need to see yourself in the mind of an author. And it's funny, and this is crazy because, you know, it works both ways. That you, like, as an author, you have to see yourself in the realm of a reviewer, and also the people who just found out who you are, like the people who are just figuring out who you are, and they're still trying to figure out who you are. You have to place your mindset into theirs and understand what are their personas like? What are their personalities like? What are they all about? What do they like? What do they really enjoy? How can you get this out in a manner that they understand, not how you understand? So we have to break out of the mold and get into other people's minds. And so as the writing book reviewer, I had to go out into the community and put myself as if I was the author, which fortunately I am writing a few books, like I said. So it gives me more of the not oomph, but the enthusiasm is definitely more ingrained because I want to also do this for myself. But it's true for authors. Authors need to go get out more into the community. They need to go on Facebook forums. There are forums and group pages on Facebook. You know, brand new writers to seasoned writers to writers who just published, or there's a mixed group in one group where it's, you know, writers who are brand new to have never they've never written anything. So those who have already put out a few books. So you get to really mingle with those people and really understand where they're coming from, what was their trials and tribulations, what worked for them, what did not work for them, you know, challenges that come about, maybe the market, how the market's changing. You get to learn vicariously through them a little bit, you know, and sometimes you can take it offline and build a relationship with them. But I really do, it behooves an author. It's important to an author, especially a brand new one, that they just immerse themselves in the community. They get themselves out there and really figure out what's going on and build a relationship with people. Build a relationship, because it'll take you so far, once again, if you build that relationship, you know, with certain people, like building a relationship with reviewers, building a relationship with other authors. Your goal is to try to build a community for of your own, to build a tribe of your own, you know, who will be there through the thick and the thin, you know. But that starts off with immersing yourself, understanding people, so, you know, learning about them and building that relationship and rapport. And, you know, those are some of the steps right there. So, you know, you got, like you said, Amazon. I'd say Facebook. I would say meetup.com is a good place to use. Go to meetup.com. There are a lot of writers and authors groups out there. There are also workshops. Sometimes they're free if you go on Eventbrite. In the Boston area, we have this place called the Boston Speaks, and I think maybe like a couple times a month there's this a woman that comes in there. She's an author, and she teaches other authors, whether new or seasoned, how to get their books marketed better. You know, like, there's just a wonderful community out there. Like, you know, how to write your book. She mainly does how to write your book, but she also has some tips too as well about the whole book community.
So yeah, like there's a lot of ways to go at it, but I would definitely say first just dive right in and immerse yourself with the community.
I agree. Use Twitter, and I apologize for the phone ringing in the background because of the stupid telemarketer calling. That's what they like to call on my landline and interrupt podcast. They do. So I apologize for that. But I agree with Tony that you gotta immerse yourself in the community if this is something that you want to do. And I am going back to school to get my journalism degree. I'm also working on a project that begins as soon as I finish my associate's degree in journalism that we are codenaming the Butterfly Writer, and Butterfly Writer is actually going successfully well. Those who need to know about it do, and they are fully supportive. And so I want to ask Tony, where can people find him, and how could people work with him, and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So you can find me. If you want to see my work, of course, you can go to TonyMoze.com. TonyMoze.com. I mean, I'm all over social media, but the next place would be to hit TonyMoze.com, and there's a contact section there if you want to speak a little bit more and try to. Maybe we could hop on a call and I could figure out what are your needs and how we can move from there, and of course create the most spectacular piece of content so that you could promote it on your social media platforms. And I would love to talk. I'd love to get to know you a little bit more, see what are your goals, and hopefully we can get some good stuff out there for you.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that everybody also would be listening to this, and there's a lot of great writing-centered podcasts to you guys. One that comes to my mind is the Selma Book Show that comes out every Wednesday with Jib Kukel and Brian Cohen. Brian Cohen actually does book blurbs and book synopsis, and so Brian Cohen is actually giving a discount right now of 20% off until May 30th. If you go to Best Page Forward, that is his website, or Google the Selma Book Show, and his website should pop up. So that's a good way to get a book review too. It all starts with a good book synopsis so that the reviewers would be interested in reviewing it. Another good podcast to listen to is The Creative Pen, Penn, The Creative Pen by the fabulous Joanna Penn. She's based out of the UK. I've been on her podcast way back when I first published I Come a Win and Real Thrill, and then she has a website, thecreativepen.com, along with her podcast, and she left a six-figure day job and now has made income being a creative, writing books. That's all she does, and helps all of us. Another podcast is Creative Writing by Kristen Elephant, and creative writing talks about the art of writing books and the art of just selling books. And Kristen Elephant, I'm trying to convince her to come on my show and talk about her podcast. So there's many ways to skin this book reviewer cat, but it all starts with a good book, and it all starts with a good edited the book, and the book synopsis has to be good too, because that's the only way that people are going to read it. And Goodreads, as Tony mentioned, is another good one. Goodreads is open to the public, not only for book reviewers, and just sharing books with your friends is another way to get book reviews. Now, Tony, I know you had a couple of questions to me, so go ahead and ask those.
All right. Let's see here. So what inspired you to do this podcast?
Well, the short story is I wrote a book. I wrote my first autobiography when I was 23 years old. I Come a Win, and that book could still be found on Amazon. And so when I wrote that book, people were asking me, how do you do all this with cerebral palsy? And so that's why I started this podcast.
Okay, that's great. And then what would you say is a favorite book of yours?
Oh, a favorite book of mine is The Secret Life of Bees. I know that's oldie and goodie. And I know they have now written a book on the making of Caddyshack, which my dad just finished. Thank you very much. So I, of course, had to sit down and watch Caddyshack. My decision, not my dad's, by the way. Last night, and I apologize for the coughing attack. I have a adult onset allergies, you guys, and so I couldn't control my coughing attack. But I know they just finished new release on the making of Caddyshack, and of course, those of you that haven't seen Caddyshack, you really should. It's oldie but a goodie movie, and also go read the book. And The Secret Life of Bees is another one. The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants also, and there is a movie out now which I'm dying to go see. It's called The Book Club, and it's featuring 50 Shades of Grey, which was self-published, and so I would say my favorite book is The Secret Life of Bees. Also, someone nicely just handed me Gary Vaynerchuk's book on Audible Crushing It, and so now I just have to download Audible app, and then I'll be reading Crushing It. And I'm also in the midst of another book that a fan gave me. They keep handing me books thinking I'll read. But I would say give me a good audiobook, and that makes me very happy.
Very nice. Awesome. It's awesome. Yeah, I love audiobooks too. That's what I've been to recently. So last question is, what are your goals for your business? Like what dreams or aspirations do you have for like the next 5 years?
Well, my dreams and aspirations are to make money off of my books and step away from my teaching job, and I'm starting to do that now, and so I'm really happy about that. As I said, my final grand hurrah in the self-publishing field all by my lonesome is going to be on 9/11. My book is Smile for Dictation, and it's about how I write books using Siri dictation and using Dragon Naturally Speaking. And I finally listened to my fan base, and they want to know how I write books. So I finally decided to write a book about that. And so that is coming out on 9/11 because I'm thinking, you guys don't know this yet, but I'm thinking, why not get legacies of 9/11, those who were there that tragic day, and I know Tony's up in Boston, so he felt it too, but those who were there that tragic day, why not get them to write books along with everyone else?
Awesome.
So that leaves Tony with more magical work now that my book is coming out, because Tony has to get more magical work out of you guys now that you guys know my secrets about writing books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I definitely appreciate your time, Tony, and we'll have all of Tony's information in the show notes. And please, 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 go review a book. Don't make Tony do all the song and dancing to review these books. All it takes is 2 fingers to review a book. And type a nice review. It doesn't have to be 5 stars, it just has to be a review, because that helps the algorithms of Amazon, or what I like to call the Cookie Monster of Amazon. Yes, I said Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. And that's how I equate it. The books are his cookies, and he fills his stomach with Amazon algorithms. And so that's how I play it. And the more book reviews people leave, whether it's a professional book reviewer or just a normal human being, helps us raise to the top of Amazon. So I think that Tony has shared enough of his knowledge with us, and if you guys want to go peruse Tony's site, that's fine, but Tony is in a niche beyond my niche. I mean, I didn't even know there was a singing, dancing book reviewer until I met Tony. So you guys just have to learn to be authors in a business, and that's what I'm learning. I pay self-employment tax every single year, even though I have a day job. And so I want to increase my income by selling books, and that will happen within the next 6 years. I have come up with my financial freedom number, and everyone that reviews my books is my hero because they seem to like my books. And I hope this was helpful to you guys, and I hope this brings Tony more singing and acting and doing what he loves. And I'm just so appreciative of Tony coming on and then sharing his wisdom about book reviewing. Thanks to you guys. Bye.
Thank you.